Hi YouTube, I'm Tim, and Mr. Wicker tagged me in a YouTube video, 5 horror movies from the year you were born. Well, just like Mr. Wicker, I was born in 1977, so 5 different horror movies from 1977. So first up, Dario Argento, English dubbed Italian horror classic, Suspiria. I got Steelbook put out by Synapse. It's 2 Blu-rays plus Synapse catalog and CD booklet of the soundtrack, since it includes the CD soundtrack. There's a CD, and there's the Blu-ray of the feature film, plus an extra Blu-ray which has just extras on it. It stars Jessica Harper, who was in Phantom of the Paradise, and she was later in the Rocky Horror sequel, Shock Treatment. And she was also in Charles B. Pierce's The Victors, but in Suspiria, she plays an American ballet student who goes to a ballet school in Germany, and this German ballet school is the headquarters for a coven of witches led by Helena Marcos, the mother of Sighs, or Suspiria. And I first saw clips of this, well, it was on Sci-Fi Channel, a censored version of the film, but I didn't watch it from beginning to end. But then it later showed up on Fox Movie Channel in its R-rated cut, and that same R-rated cut had been on Turner Classic Movies, and I later bought a DVD from Blue Underground just as it was going out of print, and that DVD ended up being the unrated cut. And just like the Blue Underground DVD, the HD Blu-ray is once again the unrated cut of the film, which is slightly longer than the R-rated cut that 20th Century Fox released here in the States. So Suspiria is number 1 of top 5 horror films from the year I was born, which is 1977. And then next one's Creature feature When Animals Attack style drive-in horror flick, Day of the Animals. And this is also known as Something is Out There. It's directed by William Girdler as a follow-up to his film Grizzly from 1976. And it stars Leslie Nielsen from The Naked Gun and Airplane. And stars Richard J. Cole, Grizzly, John Cedar, The Manitou, Linda Day George, Pieces, and Christopher George, who was in Grizzly and Mortuary, but was also in Pieces with his wife Linda Day George, and they were both in Mortuary. And this is just the DVD edition, which has the reversible artwork. You can see there's the DVD, and it says the Day of the Animals on both sides, but pretty sure this was also released to theaters and drive-ins as Something is Out There. Is that a Paramount logo? No. Thought I saw a Paramount logo. It's Camelot. There's no place to hide on the Day of the Animals. After the movie, only the terror remains. This is the edition put out by Scorpion releasing. And then another American drive-in cult classic. Something similar to The Exorcist, since it involves possession, but instead of a demon possessing a young girl, we have a young mute girl's dead gangster father's spirit takes over her body. Ruby. And the stars Piper Laurie, who was the mom in Carrie, Stuart Whitman, who was in a bunch of different movies, Roger Davis from TV's Dark Shadows, and then Janet Baldwin is Ruby's daughter. Janet Baldwin possessed girl in this movie, and she was in Gator Bait, and she was in Humongous. This is a fun little movie that takes place mainly during the 50s at a drive-in. Even though this was filmed in the 70s, most of this movie takes place during the 50s at a drive-in movie theater. This is VCI Entertainment DVD Blu-ray combo pack that they put out through MVD Visual Distribution. Christened in blood, raised in sin, she's sweet 16, let the party begin. Ruby. A love affair with the supernatural. Piper Laurie, frightening Carrie, now terrifying as Ruby. And it's just a fun little late 70s drive-in flick. It's rated R, but I think it's rated R just pretty much for violence. I don't think there's probably a little bit of sexual content in this one, but it's pretty much held back. It seems pretty tame for a late 70s R-rated horror film. And then one that's only been on DVD so far, Mario Bava's Shock. It's another possession movie that got released here in the States is Beyond the Door 2, but the only connection between the two films is the same child actor, David Cullen Jr., is in both Beyond the Door and Mario Bava's Shock. And in this one, his dead dad's ghost takes over his body and starts haunting the mom and her new husband. But Shock, also known as Beyond the Door 2, but it's not really a real sequel to Beyond the Door, but it just involves a spirit taking over a child's body. So, Mario Bava Shock. So far, we've had Dario Argento Suspiria, and then The Day of the Animals, aka Something Is Out There, and Ruby, a love affair with the supernatural. And Beyond the Door 2, which is better known under its original title, Mario Bava Shock. And the stars Dario Argento's ex-girlfriend, Daria Nicolodi, who's the mother of Dario Argento's daughter, Asia Argento. And now, number 5. It's one that's not exactly a horror film. It's got the elements of a horror film, so in a way you could call it a horror film, but it's more of an Italian giallo. Jennifer O'Neill is the Psychic, a film by Lucio Fulci. Suddenly she could see into the future and saw her own murder. This is the out-of-print Blu-ray put out by Scorpion, releasing through Ronin Flicks. They put out a retail version that's in stores and on Amazon.com via distribution by Kino Lorber, but doesn't have the retail version doesn't have the slipcover or this. It has different artwork, but it still has reversible artwork to the original artwork of the woman's skull. So we got a housewife when she's a little girl and she's on a field trip with her class at school. They're outside. She has a vision of her mother jumping off of a cliff and committing suicide, and it turns out her mother really did do that. So then she grows up, she gets married, and then she has this vision of seeing a woman killed and being walled up, being bricked up in a wall in this old house that belongs to her husband. So her husband is charged with murder. She goes to see a psychiatrist and tells him about this vision she had, and she breaks open the wall and finds a skeleton of a woman that was killed and bricked up in there. But sadly, it seems that she's going to share the same fate as the woman that was killed and bricked up in a wall. So Jennifer O'Neill is a psychic, and this is also called 7 Notes in Black, or Murder to the Tune of 7 Notes in Black, but here in the States we call it The Psychic. And it's one of those Italian giallo horror films that was shot pretty much in English, but then dubbed into Italian for its Italian release, but then was released in an English dubbed audio track here in the States. And as you can see, I never opened this one because this was one I could find the standard definition widescreen transfer on YouTube and also on a Roku channel, so I watched both of those before buying this. So I still need to watch the HD version. So that's it for my top 5 horror films from the year I was born, which was 1977. Suspiria, Day of the Animals, which is also known as Something Is Out There, Ruby, and Shock, aka Beyond the Door 2. And Shock, The Psychic, and Suspiria are all English dubbed Italian horror flicks. Whereas Ruby is an American horror exploitation pick, and Day of the Animals is a 1977 creature feature or real-life wildlife attacks. So, whoever else is watching this, if you do YouTube videos, and you're free to be tagged and to do your top 5 horror films from the year you were born if you'd like. So hopefully in February I'll get back to my usual update videos. This is just something for fun since Mr. Wicker did this. So those are my top 5 horror films from 1977, which was the year I was born. So thanks for watching.